Welcome to the Miller Creek Book News. I am Nesra, and today I'm going to talk about I Survived True Stories by Lauren Tarshish. Stay tuned. I Survived True Stories by Lauren Tarshish is written with many stories, so it has many characters. But my favorite character of this book is Jack Thayer. This book has many other kinds of books like this one. There was I Survived the Shark Attacks of 1916, I Survived the Nazi Invasion 1944, I Survived the SF Earthquake 1906, and many more. The story takes place back in 1912 when the Titanic was built. So this character, Jack Thayer, was on the Titanic with his parents. He was about 17 years old. The book is written in third person. Also, the book is a non-fiction and historical. It has 136 pages with 5 stories, and each has its own main character, and the stories have about 24 to 30 pages or more for each story. Since this story is basically all about disasters, I will explain one of the 5 stories since there is too many stories. I will be telling the story of the Titanic disasters. Jack Thayer was on the Titanic boat with his parents. When they were on the ship, they admired on how the boat looked like, even though they had a mansion. They would believe that the boat had many high-end technology back then. Jack would then look up at the stars and imagine as if they were diamonds. When he went back to his cabin, he said goodnight to his mom, and then he went to bed, but when he did, he swayed slightly. He then realized the boat had veered to the left a little. Then the engines had stopped. There was a little quiet moment. Then he heard footsteps that were fast, so he put on his overcoat and his slippers, and he told his parents that he was going to see what was going on outside. He saw a crowd of the first-class passengers, including his father joined him. Jack wasn't worried. He felt adventurous for some reason. Nobody on the boat seemed to think it was serious. Jack would recall. The ship is unsinkable, but then Jack and his father saw Mr. Andrews, the ship designer, said that the iceberg had clawed through the steel hull. The water was gushing in the ship lower levels. The Titanic will sink in an hour, Andrews said. Then Jack realized that there was only 20 lifeboats, which was more than the law required. It was only enough for about half of the passengers and the crew members. Jack then got ready, went back up with his parents. People shouted out rockets being fired in the air. Suddenly, their parents were gone. They were in the middle of a panicked crowd, desperately finding a lifeboat. Since there was no lifeboats, Jack waited until the Titanic would sink down so he could jump off. Jack later jumped. There was many chairs, tables, and other furniture around him. Later, there was a lifeboat that rescued him. Jack sailed back to New York, which was 800 miles away. He got rescued by a big boat, which then has his parents on board. What would you do when the lifeboat would sink? Or when the boat would sink? What would you think Jack was feeling and his parents? Would you jump off a boat at 28 degrees Fahrenheit? I recommend this book because it has many stories about how it felt to be in those kinds of disasters. And if you like action and history, then this is a book for you. And there are many more kinds of these books. I most definitely rate this book 5 out of 5 because it is filled with action, and that is one of my favorite types of books. Thanks for listening. Tune in the future for reviews and keep reading.